When you hear like the Huffington Post call you like the greatest artist of your generation, what's that? Like what goes through your mind when you hear that? Huffington
Okay,
Post is
so
a huge deal, by the way.
yes, so I was really proud of myself because I knew that they only called me that because I call myself that. Because no one else is saying, well, not that no one else is saying that because people are saying it, but only
Yeah.
because I was the one that started saying it first. Like, nobody would have the audacity to say that if they didn't hear it come from my mouth first.
Oh my gracious.
Even back in high school, Jennifer inspired more than
Cambié la imagen por vender Bitcoin.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga.
Welcome to Growing Up Latina. I am your host, Ali V, and I'm here with the amazing Ambar Lucid. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Where are you? It looks very vibrant. It looks very Latina-ish, which I love.
It's so funny. So right now I'm actually at a Nice Slice office, my record label, but they have a really cool setup here, a little living room at the office. It's a vibe.
How has it been going for you? I can imagine it must be fast-paced with everything coming out and soon to be released. Like, how does this moment feel for you?
It feels really good. I went through a rough patch for a few years, just because I was super ready to release music and like just really go hard on artistry and my career, but there were some things that were not really aligning behind the scenes, and it feels like things have finally aligned, and I finally have the foundation necessary to move my career forward and elevate what I've been working on all these years.
What do you think you were missing back then that maybe you've implemented now? Like, what changes occurred for you both personally and professionally?
I think it was more so personally, and on the professional side, I just like gained more experience throughout the years. But I think when I first started doing music, I was just really young, and I thought I had a sense of self, but that sense of self was very childlike. And because I was 17 when I started doing this, and like you don't really know who you are at 17, and you don't understand the reality of existing in society as an adult and an independent person. And I think literally just through aging and living life, I and going to therapy, I've been able to be more conscious of who I really am, and I have a better sense of the society that I function within and the system that I'm within, and how my identity impacts my experience, how my past has impacted my present perception. So I think just literally growing up and learning, and being conscious of the things that I've lived, have allowed me to get to a headspace where I'm like, okay, I finally know what I'm doing, and this is what I want to do as an artist. And I think because I have that clarity now, it's so much easier to be a leader and guide my team and the people that are interested in helping me develop my career. Like it's much easier to point towards a direction confidently instead of being like, I don't know, somebody please make a decision for me.
You know what? It's so funny that you say that because I struggle with that a lot. Like I struggle with decision making, and I'm always asking people for their opinions. Like it's so
Mm.
annoying, and I absolutely hate it. And my producer, she's so funny because I'll like FaceTime her, and I'm like, should I wear this? Should I wear that? And she's like, we're gonna start with small decisions. Like, don't ask me anymore what you want to wear. Like, just make a
Mhm.
decision on that, and then that'll give you the confidence, like you begin to build up the confidence in making like bigger decisions in your life.
Yeah.
I want to talk about obviously how you grew up, because I feel like so much of your life has been fast paced and so much of your life has been um just kind of like going through something and it wasn't by choice, but you had to deal with it. And so I want to talk about first, like, paint me the picture of what, like, baby Ambar, like, what was that like? What were the vibes in the home like? Like, paint me that picture.
So early childhood, like early
Earlier.
childhood. Um, I was born in New Jersey. Both of my parents were immigrants. My dad was technically illegal. And after some time, my mom was as well. Um, but I mean, honestly, I had a very good early childhood. My mom spent most of my time with me and my dad worked, and my mom used to like dress me up a lot. Like she used to treat me like her little doll, and she bought me a bunch of toys, and I had my own little corner. And it's I think because of the toys that she got me is actually the reason why I eventually became so interested in music, because she got me a lot of musical toys. So I would spend a lot of time with my mom early on until my father got deported at around like 5 or 6 years old. And then my parents split up, and that's when like my life completely changed. Or at least like in early childhood, my dad ended up going to Mexico. Actually, yeah, he went to Mexico, and then he went to DR. My mom also went to DR, and she brought me with her, and they tried to make things work. But my dad didn't like living in DR, and my mom didn't want to go live in Mexico. So then they split up. My mom went back to the US, left me in DR with my grandma for a bit, and then my dad went to Mexico, and they split up. And I lived in DR for a few years, from like age like 6 to 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the US at around 8 years old, because my mom ended up having another child, and so she wanted me to come live with her again so she could live with her children. And at that point in my life is when things kind of like went downhill
Mhm.
for like a good 9 to 10 years. Um, yeah, my mom was in this new relationship, and it was very abusive. And so my childhood was very impacted by those years. I kind of went from like a happy childhood to like being traumatized. My dad was like taken away from me. And then I have to live in another country. Then I moved to back to my home country, and then my mom's in this relationship, and then we end up moving with her boyfriend's family at the time, and it was just crazy because they were not very nice people, and I was very isolated because they made it a point to reject me. And my mom, because she was being abused, she would spend a lot of time working and not a lot of time with me. So there was, yeah, after like 8 years old, from ages 8 to like 16, I dedicated most of my time to raising my siblings. So my mom would work um like all day, all day. As soon
Right.
as I got to school, I would stay with my siblings, and I would spend a lot of time alone. And this is when I think um I really started to develop my sense of um wanting to be an artist and wanting to be a creative, after I like was just spending so much time alone, watching so much content online. Like that escapism was a big thing, has always been a big thing for me,
Hmm.
stepping from my childhood. And originally it started with me, going on YouTube, watching videos, watching interviews, because I had so much time. My siblings were little kids, so like they would just like play in a corner with like their toys. They'd be like, shh, shh, I'm watching One Direction episode. I mean, not episode, interview.
Interview. There's so much to unpack, so much to unpack, and I do want to get into it. So first, I will say your documentary, super emotional. Let me just tell you what I saw, because I think it helps when you hear as an artist the feeling that someone else gets when they see your work and what you're producing. I felt very much connected to that moment. And I literally cried. Like, I literally shed some tears, and let me tell you why. My dad is Dominican. And my mother and my father got divorced at a very young age. He moved to Dominican Republic. But it had been 11 years since I seen my dad. And so I went through like a really traumatic relationship, like this breakup, which I call my Great Depression, because to me it felt like I was like dying inside. I felt like my soul was ripped out of my chest. And so I didn't know who to run to. And so for some strange reason, I called my dad. And I felt like my dad at the time was like this serial cheater to my mom. So I just wanted to know like why he did it.
Mhm.
Wasn't sure what answer I was gonna get, but at that moment, I just called him, and he's like, "Well, why don't you come over to see me?" Mind you, I hadn't seen him in 11 years. So the moment when you're in the car and you're like, "Ugh," like I haven't seen him in so long, and like that moment of like, do I hug him? Do I kiss him? Like, what do I do? Because it's strange, and that's what I went through with my dad when I saw him. Like, I'm like, do I hug him? Do I kiss him? Like, because at this point he wasn't my dad anymore, he was just a man to me. It's been such a long time since I've seen him. What was that moment like for you where he actually hugged you and you're at the beach and he's like, I want to hug you, but I don't know how you're going to embrace this moment? Like, what was that feeling like for you?
I don't think I was really processing like how I really felt because I didn't know how to. I think I was like so in the moment to the point that I was like kind of numb to it. Like I was just like, okay, this is happening. Like this is my dad. And like I knew that it felt good to see him, but I couldn't like it was just too complicated, too complex for like my feelings to really process in real time because I mean like you said, like you have that awareness after a long time that this person like you don't have a connection with them the way that you're supposed to with like your father. Like you grow up knowing what a father looks like and what it means to other people, but then you realize that what it means to other people doesn't mean the same thing to you. And I feel like that's just such a conflicting thing to have to process because I mean
Mhm.
I feel like your parents are like the most important figures in your life, or at least like psychologically. So like feeling that disconnect with someone so important to you, or someone that is like so spiritually connected to you, is like it feels like there's like a missing piece of you. It's like there's a part of you that you don't really fully understand, and there's like a bit of emptiness that comes with that. So I felt a lot of just isolation and it felt weird for me. Like I knew that it was a good thing, but it just felt like such an odd experience that I don't think I fully processed until like years later.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. And then I'm also like thinking, I'm like, wow, like she's like meeting her sister for the first time. Like these are all these things that are like happening in real time.
Yeah.
The moment that your father got deported, what was that? I mean, I know you were so young, but like what was that like? Because essentially your family is being broken up in during this time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember too much of what it was like when it actually happened. One of the very earliest memories that I have of my father is visiting him in jail after he
Yeah.
got deported. And I remember one of like my first like kid thoughts or like kid questions, just like me like not understanding the world but like observing it. And I remember being like in this room where I was able to talk to my dad, but we were like separated by this like glass wall, and like he had a phone, and then my mom was like, want to talk to your dad? And I was like, what is this? I was like,
Wow.
why can't I see you? I was like, why can't I talk to my dad? Like I was just so
Yeah.
confused. And your mom, I mean, my mom, she was like, oh, like, I think she tried to give me like an explanation that made sense for like my kid brain. Like, oh, you can't see your dad now, but he's like right there. So just say hi to him, tell him you
Yeah.
love him. But growing up, that was always such a, how do I put it into words? It was a topic that was not spoken about
Like
openly.
taboo. Yeah.
Yeah, it was taboo. It was it was it was like this big secret that I had that I couldn't tell anyone because for whatever reason I don't know, there was just like this weird stigma behind talking about a legal status, and I mean understandably so because people were scared, but
Right.
I couldn't like confide in anyone and being like, hey, like it kind of hurts that my dad is literally not able to come into this country, and also my mom wouldn't let me go visit my father. She probably wouldn't be happy at me saying this, but I love you, mom. This is the truth. This is what just happened.
Right. Right.
Um, my mom, because she was in an abusive relationship, she was ashamed of that and didn't want me to go visit my dad because she was afraid that I would tell him the way that we were living. And we were just living in like an absurd environment. Like it wasn't terrible. I mean, emotionally and psychologically, yes, terrible, but like, it's not like I didn't have food or things like
Right.
that. But my mom was ashamed because she knew that like things weren't healthy, so she was just like, I'm just not gonna send you to Mexico. You're not allowed to go to Mexico until you're 18.
Right.
And that's what
But
ended up.
what does that, so like let's even talk about that, because again, like you're young, so like where do you find the time to like escape this lifestyle, and just like where do you go? Like is it in your head? Are you journaling during this time? Like what is your escapism?
So earlier on, my escapism was watching videos, watching movies, watching shows, documentaries, being online, being chronically online was my escape, and consuming content on YouTube, watching YouTubers, making my own videos, fantasizing about my own dream life. I used to journal a lot. I still journal a lot. I used to draw a lot. I used to make a lot of art inspired by artists that I really liked. And then as I got older, when I was around 14,
Yeah.
I smoked weed for the first time, and that was like mind blowing for me because I was like, oh my god, I can literally leave the planet with my mind. So that became a big form of escapism for me in my teenage years, which ended up turning into an addiction.
Yeah.
So it weed has been very influential in my identity, but it's also, something that I struggle with. And I think that um, where my weed addiction stems from is my childhood and like feeling so isolated and, being in an abusive household. And the only escape that I had was literally sedating myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but out of that came a lot of art and self expression.
Wonder, because I, I don't know. So I feel like to a certain extent, my mom was beating my ass as a child, like, and
Ooh.
to the point that she would be like, "When I come home," so I used to wear like leggings and sweatpants and a sweatshirt because I'm like, it's gonna be terrible when she comes in. I already know. And so for me, my escapism has always been music. Like I'm older, so I used to have like the CD-ROM, and I would put my headphones, and I had this thing, and everybody thought I was crazy, but I would rock back and forth. And everybody was like, "What is going on?" They would be like, "Marta," my mom's name is Marta. They'd be like, "Marta, what is wrong with your daughter? Like, why is she rocking?" And I don't know why I did. And it's so funny. I had no idea why I did that. But my niece, she does that as well. Like my sister tells me all the time, like, she rocks back and forth. It's like this thing. But I would always kind of escape with music. And so one of my favorite artists is La India. And I
Mhm,
felt like I've always, I don't know, I love music that's derived from pain. I don't know
mhm.
why, but when I hear, I just feel so connected to that type of music, because I'm like, if I could sing, that would be like how I would display my music. That would be like what I would write about. Like you, I would journal a lot. But my question to you is, that moment when you say to yourself, yeah, I'm gonna start documenting my pain, the rawness, the realness of this moment, because that's such a sacred moment, right? Like you didn't have to share that with us. But what was that for you? Like what conversations go on in your head where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna share this with the world.
I think for me, it's always been like a survival instinct. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I feel this pain that is so powerful. And the only thing that feels right is to tell everyone how I feel.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like I have to find a way. I mean, in the past, I still experience this now, but especially in the past, I was just so desperate and so hopeless, and I just really didn't know what to do for myself, and it felt like I had to do something to like manifest God. And it felt
Mm.
like writing music. Every time that I wrote a song, every time that I learned how to play a song, anytime that I sang a song, that was the most free I ever felt. That was the most right and truest thing that I could possibly be doing. And I felt that as a young kid. I felt that at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is when I wrote my first song. And when I wrote my first song, like I literally cried, I sobbed. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. And I was like, I have to do this. I have to spend the rest of my life doing this. It's like
Mm.
the things that the things I dedicate myself to are things that like light this fire within me, and music still to this day continues to do that for me, and that has been a driving force for everything creative that I do. It's like I have to do it. It's like an impulsive thing. Like it's like, you know, when you get so mad and you just want to scream, you're just like I'm like that with songs. I'm like la 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 la.
How accepting was like your family when it came to your art, right? Because I feel like in the Latino household sometimes they're just like, we want you to be a doctor and we want you to be a cop, and they don't really understand like expression and art form and that it comes in various ways. So how accepting was your mom when it came to your art?
It took my mom a long time to be truly accepting. Like she
Yeah.
always thought it was a cute hobby. But then as I started getting older, she was like, "Tú sabes que yo no te voy a pagar la escuela, ¿verdad?" And I'd be like, thanks, mom. And then she'd be like, "It's time to get realistic. Like, I don't have money. You don't
Yeah.
either. So you need to do good in school and like come up with a realistic plan for yourself." And I'd be like, "But you don't understand. This is the realistic plan." And she would say things like, "Listen, you might be a successful music teacher, but I don't know if you'll ever be a star." And I
Mm.
remember hearing her say that as a kid, and I was always like, rude. Like, I never believed it, even though it hurt. I always had people like hate on me. Like when I was younger, like I grew up, I mean, my mom's side of the family is Dominican, and like, you know, Dominicans don't hold back when they have opinions. Like my family would really sometimes be they would literally say to me, "Pero mija, tú no tienes la personalidad para ser una estrella."
No. Yo, that's crazy. You was like, I'm gonna show you.
I would just be like, I'd be like, well, weird people can be stars too. Because my family would always call me weird because I was like shy and like socially awkward. And yeah, I mean, they were supportive of me singing at family parties. That's when they were the most supportive.
Yeah.
But yeah, they like wasn't a real thing for my mom. Like even when I got a manager, she was still like, I don't know, like I don't know who this white guy is. Like I don't know what he
Yeah.
wants and what he's gonna do. And I'd be like, Mom, like you don't understand. Like people are actually offering to help me
Yeah.
build a career. And it wasn't until I started getting paid that my mother really took this seriously. Or at least like when I started getting like real help, like I was able to move to Los Angeles, and also she came to Los Angeles with me for about a week, and she got to see the lifestyle that I would be living. Like she came with me to like some meetings, and I think she even like came to a session or something.
Nice.
So it took her actually seeing the lifestyle and meeting a person that eventually became my manager for a few years, and him really explaining to her that this was a very real possibility and a very real career that I you know had the ability to build. And so that's when my mom was like, okay, I get it, you can do it.
Yeah. I think the most powerful thing in that is that you have this personality of you just kind of like beating to the own sound of your drum, right? Like you don't care what anyone has to say. It's like, no, I see this for myself. I don't care what you guys see. Your
Mhm.
vision is not my vision. So I absolutely love and admire that about you. Um,
Thank you.
at what point do you go from passion to like now scaling this as a business, right? Because now you are making money. Now you are like doing these nice fancy videos, you're touring, and like this is like your entity now, right? Like you're a whole brand. So like where does that shift come into play?
That shift came into place probably when I moved to Los Angeles at 17, but I would say like when I turned 18 was when I really had like the legal freedom to sign contracts. So I think that shift was at around 18 when I signed my first publishing deal and then my first distribution deal. And that change was honestly like very dramatic for me, like both on a personal and professional level. And I think that that switch caused me to be lost for a few years in terms of like my own identity because um when I moved to Los Angeles, I still had not even processed the things that I lived in New Jersey. So I didn't really understand
Mm.
who I was and what my childhood had done to me psychologically. So I had a really hard time, and I think as an artist, I was just very confused with where I wanted to take my art because now I had this budget, I had this bigger production, but I was so used to being a bedroom pop artist. And like, I went from producing music on my own to my bedroom to going to like Harvey Mason's like old studio and
Crazy.
yeah, insane. And so that was a bit disorienting for me, but I didn't realize that at the time. I was just like, I'm living the dream until I released until I released actually the first project that I released after doing music professionally was independent. That was great. But then I released the project with a label, and that's when things got a bit like hazy for me and just like I didn't you could tell that there was a disconnect between me and my artistry, and in result that created a disconnect between me and my audience. So I think it took me literally like 7 years of me doing this, maybe like 6 years of me doing this and like finally getting comfortable in the world that I exist in. And I'm like, okay, I know how the music industry works kind of now. I'm also more of an adult and I know I can say no to things and I know that I don't have to listen to anyone. So now I feel like because I've been around for so long and have been doing this for a while and started so young and I've had to learn all of these uncomfortable lessons. I'm just like I'm a music industry veteran. I feel so wise. Or
Well,
at least like on the
you're a
side.
boss, though that's number one. Like you're not only an artist, but you're a boss, right? Like you're a boss of like where how far your art can go and where you can take it and calling the shots. And it doesn't seem like you're, at least from what I'm seeing right now with the music that's coming out, it doesn't seem like you're doing something that is not authentically you. Like it feels very authentic to who you are. And a
Definitely.
lot of artists kind of lose that control, right? Especially when they sign to labels and they have
Mhm.
like this major powerhouse, they lose that authenticity within their art. I want to talk about therapy because I think that's played a huge role in your life as well as your artistry.
Absolutely.
Is does someone suggest this? Do they say, "Hey, Amber, I think like we should maybe you should talk to someone," or are you just like wanting to do this on your own? Like what is that process like for you?
So, fun fact, the first time I took therapy was after the first time I got caught smoking weed by my mother. And my mother was like, you have to go to therapy. So I did a program for like 6 or 8 weeks, and a therapist would come to me weekly to my home. And she was literally the first person in my childhood that was like, you're an incredible person. She was like, she was like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand like why your mom thinks you're so bad. Like you're actually pretty great. And I was like, you don't think I'm a bad person? Because my family would try to convince me that I was like this demon because I would smoke weed and like listen to like rock music and I was like emo. And to my Dominican family and other Hispanic family friends, they were all like, mija, ¿por qué tú te estás poniendo toda esa ropa negra todos los días?
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yo, sounds like my family.
my grandma would be like, "A ti te gusta esa pena?" And I'd be like, "What the hell?"
Yes. Yes. But did you did you genuinely enjoy therapy? Like, was that like your outlet at that time?
Okay, so I did that program, but then I didn't go back to therapy for a few years. And the reason why I went back was because there were multiple reasons actually. So during COVID, I was doing a lot of psychedelics, and specifically, I was doing mushrooms, and my mushroom trips were very negative, like extremely
Really? What was
negative.
your trip like?
My trip, well, I had a lot of trips. I don't know why I kept doing shrooms because like I did not have a good time while doing them, or at least like the first like 10 times. Um
Yeah.
and I don't know, I felt like I like had to do there was no real like logical reason as to why I kept tripping. I just felt like I had to do it because I knew that I was carrying this darkness within, but I couldn't really access it unless I was on shrooms. And so, like, I would feel awful. I would take them, feel extremely sick. And then, like, I'm not even joking, I would, like, hide in a corner, like, with a blanket on, and I would just cry for, like, hours. I'd be like,
Oh
I'm,
man.
my mom is my mom. My dad
Oh,
is my
you was going through it, girl. You had a real bad trip.
I did, and I kept having them. And then, like, then one day, so my boyfriend at the time, he used to trip with me, and he was like, girl, we gotta go out in nature, like no more tripping at home. He's like
Yeah.
crying to a tree. um
On the tree.
so we went on a hike, and we went to like these beautiful mountains. I didn't even know like Jersey had mountains at the time.
Yeah.
um and we were like walking on grass, and like we were just like in this beautiful field of grass. And I just like looked up at the sky, and I literally got like the spiritual download. And I remember like looking at my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, I get what I'm supposed to do now. And then he was like, what? And I was like, it's about the music. It's all about the music. Everything's about the music. Like I had like a little moment where I like, was like a little like out of it. I had realized that part of the reason why I was so uncomfortable with myself was because even though I was doing exactly what I wanted, it was not I was not integrating my true self into my artistry at this point in my life. And I didn't know how to go about fixing that, or how to go about evolving that. And I was like, damn, like I feel so shitty. I really don't know what to do, and I just felt so overwhelmed. And I came to the conclusion on drugs that I needed help.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is like affecting me in multiple ways. I'm like, this darkness that I'm carrying is like literally affecting the quality of my art. And so reflecting on like what I was carrying inside, and how that was projecting outwards, and I didn't have any control over how negative the things that I was projecting outwards was, but I was seeing how it was holding me back in a lot of ways. And I was like, "F it, I'm gonna hit a therapist up." And so I think like a few days later, I literally just Googled psychologists. And then I like scrolled through a bunch of different names, and I just like chose this one company, or I like reached out to this one person that like connected me to this company, and I found a therapist through them. And this therapist ended up working with me for like 3 years, and she was the person that completely altered my life experience and made me aware of my childhood and how it impacts the person that I am today. So going to therapy as an adult, I think, is probably the best decision I've ever made as an
Yeah.
adult,
Like,
because
tell
it
me,
just it changed everything.
what was like your like aha moment? Like maybe something that she said that you were like, yeah, that's it right there. That's
Um
totally it.
So, I don't know, I'd be in therapy and I would cry and I'd be like, I just don't get it. Like, why can't like my boyfriends just like love me right? And then she was like, your mom and dad couldn't love you right. Why are you expecting a 20-something-year-old man to treat you the way that you want to be treated? Like, that's just, you know, maybe don't put such high expectations on people when literally your own parents who were like fully responsible over you couldn't meet that expectation. Like, take the expectation down and give
Yeah.
yourself whatever you need to give yourself, because clearly relying on other people is not it, because you can't even rely on your parents.
Do you feel like you've made peace with your past? Like, do you feel like you're at a space in your life where some healing has truly begun, where you're able to like release some of that trauma?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always a work in progress. Like,
Mhm.
healing is definitely not linear. So sometimes I have some great days, other days I have days when it feels like I haven't made any progress. But I have come a long way, and I see that in my like everyday life. Like, I'm a lot more social now. Yeah, I do forgive her, and I think the reason why I've been able to forgive her is a combination of going to therapy and then also pursuing a higher education, because I've gotten more context on, well, one, what it must have been like to be my mother, but also two, like, she moved to a country not knowing that the system that actually, let me reword this. My mother came to the United States not knowing that women, especially immigrant women, are not set up to thrive here in the United States. They're one
That
of the
part.
people, yeah, like, she struggled a lot and she still does. And, now I understand that a lot of her, like, struggles with money and, like, relying on a man, like, it was just what she was taught. And, like, the way that she was taught to exist wasn't empowering her, and it didn't lead her to the success that she wanted. It didn't allow her to accomplish her dreams. And whenever I think about my mom, like, I start to cry. I'm like, damn, like, she's lived a hard life, and there are some things that, like, I can't help but feel resentful for, but I don't blame her. I just feel bad for her, because I see that, she's a victim to the system herself, and she still struggles with a lot of the same struggles that she's been dealing with for like over 10 years. And yeah, like, I don't think anybody should have to go through a lot of the things that she went through, and I don't think I'm strong enough to be able to, like, whenever I think about my past and I think about hers, I'm like, I feel lucky, because I'm like, okay, I can process the things that I've lived. I mean, like, even though a lot of it has been painful, like, I can't imagine having to live with, like, the fact that, like, her one of her baby daddies got deported, and she had to live through that, and then, like, she didn't even get to process that, and then got into another relationship and had another baby, and then that relationship ended up being abusive, and, like, she still deals with the consequences of that relationship to this day. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, my mother is a very unlucky woman, and I love her so much, because I know that life has treated her unfairly. And if it wasn't for therapy, I don't think I would be able to view her in such a humane way, because I don't blame people who have been emotionally abused by their parents for hating them, or like being really angry at them, because it's not easy to have to live with the pain of a broken childhood, because that
Yeah.
stays with you forever. And sometimes I'm like, oh, why couldn't my parents like just do it right? But the
Yeah.
truth is that they were clueless. Like, they both came from different countries. They were way too young when they had me. My mom was like 22. I'm 24.
Yeah.
My mom was 22. My dad was like 19 or 20. They didn't know what the hell they were doing.
We gotta
And
show him some grace, girl. We gotta show him some grace.
yeah, I mean, they didn't know what they were doing, but like, they did good enough. I mean, look, I'm
They
here.
they did great. They did great. You know what's so powerful about your story? And I don't think you realize this part, but like as an artist, it is a lot of pressure because sometimes you are considered like this role model, right? Like people are looking up to you. You have fans, you have little girls that are like, I want to be like you when I grow up. But also with this like political climate that we're in, that's like really happening where you see a lot of immigrants are getting deported, right? And now you're still openly sharing this story of like what it's really like when a family is like separated. And I don't think you realize that you're doing this in real time, but just sharing this story is so powerful, especially for our audience, because I know a lot of people are living in this type of fear. Not a lot of artists do this. You do kind of see this with Kaylani, like she's been very vocal with some of her stance on like just like her political views. um I'm not sure if that's intentional for you, but I just want to let you know like you are really sending a powerful message of like no, like this really hurts a child. Like this really like does a lot of damage within the household when you are separating a family.
Yeah.
And so I really want to thank you for that type of authenticity, honestly, because that's something that people don't share and they don't speak about enough. um do you ever and then we can get off this, but do you ever feel like um kind of telling your mom like, hey, maybe you need therapy too? Like, have you, is that a conversation that you've had with her?
I tell her at least once a week.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I'm like, so when are you gonna go to therapy? And then she's like, I'm in the process of looking for one. But yeah, I try to encourage my mom all the time to go to therapy because my little sister has to go to therapy. Because she's the youngest one of us all, so she was born at like the peak of, you know, our household being really chaotic. And so my mom thankfully has become more aware of how um helpful it is to have support from professionals that like understand how to cope and help people deal with trauma. um and yeah, I mean, it's it's not always easy because, like, you know, she was very resistant at one point, but I'm very proud of her. She's a lot more receptive than she's been in the past, and she finally realizes like the importance of her having her own support, because she
Yeah.
has to find a lot of support for my little sister, because my little sister, like, you know, she has a hard time coping with a lot of a lot of the things that we've lived because she's so young. And so my mom has gotten support through my sister, but now like I'm like, all right, if you really want my sister to get better, like, you also have to be doing work as well on, you know, your past.
By the way, I love this each one teach one thing that you have going on. I love that you're like, no, it's worked for me. Maybe you should go. I love
Mhm.
that. When you hear like the Huffington Post call you like the greatest artist of your generation, what's that? Like what goes through your mind when you hear that? Huffington
Okay,
Post is
so
a huge deal, by the way.
yes, so I was really proud of myself because I knew that they only called me that because I call myself that. Because no one else is saying, well, not that no one else is saying that because people are saying it, but only because I was the one that started saying it first. Like, nobody would have the audacity to say that if they didn't hear it come from my mouth first. Because I realized that a couple of years ago, like after I got dropped from my previous label, I was like, I was kind of taking some notes. This is controversial. Don't support Kanye at all or his ideologies. However, in the past, I have seen his audacity, not when he's spreading hate, but like, you know, how he advocates for himself, or in the past, how he's advocated for himself. And he's just like, yeah, like, I'm the greatest. Well, when I was younger, I kind of like took that in and I was like, so if I just start claiming myself as like one of the biggest stars, like, people were
Period.
just kind of catch on. And yeah, I like started calling myself that a little while ago, and I wanted to see if me calling myself that would get other people to say the same, and it worked.
I love that. I When I started this podcast, I remember on my Instagram bio, I put Growing Up Latina, the number one Latina podcast in the world. And my team was like, that's such a bold statement. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, we're the number one Latina podcast in the world. Like, that's just what it is. And I would go to events and introduce myself and say, hey, what's going on? I'm Ali V. You know, I'm the creator and host of Growing Up Latina, you know, the number one Latina podcast in the world. And people would be like, and I don't know what would make me say that, but it just flew out so naturally. Like, I didn't miss a beat. Like I wasn't hesitant at all. I was just like, oh no, you guys are gonna see. Where did that confidence come from? Like, and do you overthink that moment when you start calling yourself the greatest?
Um, I think I've just always been so like confident about being a successful artist because keep in mind it comes from a place of like survival. So
Yeah.
this isn't like something that's like for fun for well, yes it is fun, but like spiritually like where this fuel, this drive stems from is like a sense of like wanting desperately to leave where I once was. So
Yes.
that drive will always be in me. So like, you know, I'm always so my boyfriend, he's also an artist and like we're very different artists, but we're similar when it comes to like strategizing our success. Like we'll
Yeah.
literally be like, how do I become better? And I think I've gotten so like used to that way of thinking, and I've just been an artist for so long that like also being Dominican has humbled me. So like I don't really care if people don't agree with my statements about myself. So like there's been so many times where I've been like, guys, I'm gonna be one of the greatest artists of all time. And like people have looked at me and have giggled. People like as a kid have laughed at me. People here in Los Angeles like look at me like all my do you know how much audacity you have to go to a Los Angeles party, be with Los Angeles artists who literally think that they are the fucking hottest shit and they make mid music and you're with them, right? And then they're like, who the fuck is this Mexican girl, Mexican looking girl? And I'm like, hi, I'm Ambar. If you don't know me, I'm gonna be one of the biggest artists of all time. And they're literally like, ew, who the fuck is this bitch? But I don't care because I'm just like, do you know how free it is to be able to say that you know, you're a good artist and you know you are deserving of success? That honestly, just that alone is what I feel like. It's the only thing that makes me better than other artists. It's just the fact that like I do not give a fuck if other people approve of me or not because I know that there's an audience for me out there. I know that there are people that resonate with my music. I know there's people that support me. So when I say those words, they feel so true because they come from me, not because I need to hear someone else say it in order to believe it.
Oh, that's a bar. That's a bar right there. I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I don't think that I'm better than anyone else, but I also don't think anyone else is better than me. Like, I'm always saying that. I want to talk about your new single, There Goes My Baby. Where did that, where was the inspiration behind that track? Um, and even down to the visuals, like the visuals are really dope as well. So, like, how do you like conjure up this type of concept? Like, where does that come from?
So the concept for the song was inspired by me very deeply falling in love with my current boyfriend and but at the very beginning like he wasn't really interested, but I was very interested. To the point where I was like delusional, like he would straight up be like, I don't like you like that. And I would be like, okay, but in my head I would be like, it's okay, you just like don't know yet that you
Do you see your manifestation patterns? Like I keep hearing it throughout this interview. You've
I
literally manifested your life, by the way.
yes, I
You're
did.
a walking manifestation.
When I want something, I get it.
Period.
And yeah, so I was down bad during this time and I was writing so many songs about this man and this was just like one of the songs that I wrote about him that like blew my mind. So I was letting myself like get lost in this like delusion of like love because I was like, you know what? Even if he doesn't like me, like I can write songs about him and like it'll be worth it, whatever. But I wrote this one, and I wrote this one with one of my best friends and one of his best friends. So the vibes were just like amazing that day, and like I was just venting to them about this guy. I was like, ugh, like I like him so much, but he doesn't like me back, and I like just spent hours talking about it. And they were so nice and let me talk about it, and they listened, and the song literally just came together by me venting and like us like brainstorming lyrics. Jack, my friend Jack, he produced the song, playing the guitar. It was just so natural. And that's one of my favorite thing about working with my friends is on music is that I just talk to them about whatever I'm feeling and we make a song out of it. And it doesn't matter how delusional what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter how crazy I sound. They're like, hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the visuals. So actually this is the second video that we shot for this song. The one that ended up coming out. The first one was very inspired. Well, I've always been very inspired by like mood boards on Pinterest. So I kind of like put together a mood board, and we put together a video based on that. We wanted to do something bigger and better, so we ended up shooting a second music video, and I ended up riding a motorcycle for the first time. But yeah, the whole vibe of the video was meant to just like do something a bit more editorial than I usually do. And also just like level my aesthetic up, like basically take what aesthetic I've already built and created, and like inject steroids into it, and like that's what we did basically. And yeah, honestly, I love the music video so much, and I love this era because it feels like a mature version of my aesthetic and like my identity, which I needed help with to develop because you know, my like sense of, my source of creativity is literally Pinterest, so it was nice to like work with people that do more like editorial stuff and like seeing their more evolved interpretation of my aesthetic, which was really cool. But yeah, the whole process and the shoot, super fun. Riding the motorcycle was so much fun. I thought I was gonna die the first time. I mean, I'm always like challenged for music videos. Like I'm always like uncomfortable or like in water or like on some vehicle.
What's like your least favorite part of like this job, like in being an artist? Because you seem like you really love the studio. You seem like you love like just the visual components, like just like the creative parts. Like you seem like you are really tapped into that side of it. What's like your least favorite part?
I think my least favorite part of being an artist is realizing how out of touch a lot of people within the music industry are with the spiritual aspect of music. And when I like come across that, it's really frustrating. Because I am such a, well, I think music is like inherently spiritual. And there are artists that are more conscious about that concept than others, and I like to make it a point to talk about that and to be conscious of that. But you know, it's difficult to be about that message when you experience resistance. I mean, I thankfully have gotten to a point in my career where like I don't experience as much creative resistance as I have in the past, which I'm very, very thankful for. But yeah, anytime when like the business aspect of it makes the music part not fun, that I would say would be my least favorite part. Later on, when I'm more famous, it will probably be hate comments. But right now,
You getting
I
all the love.
I do. I like
I
feel
know you
so thankful. I like it's very rare that I get a lot of hate, and it happens like once in a while if like a TikTok gets a lot of attention. But like people are so nice to me online.
I want to go into some rapid fire questions. Are you down for this? Like these are gonna go quick. So like whatever pops into your head. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me you're Latina without telling me you're Latina.
Mi mamá es dominicana.
Period. Um, what's your favorite Latin dish?
Ooh. Arroz con habichuela negra or no. Moro de habichuela negra con pollo y plátano y aguacate.
Do you cook?
Sometimes. I don't like
Okay.
to, but occasionally I will.
Okay. Okay. Um, if you had an opportunity to have the Last Supper with three Latinas, dead or alive, to be anybody, who would it be?
Rosalía, Mon Laferte, Frida Kahlo.
Ooh, that's fire. I love that. What does it mean to you to be Latina?
This is a good question. What does it mean to be Latina? Honestly, it means everything to me. When I was younger, I used to get really angry at questions like this, but now, because of the current political climate and because I've gotten a little bit more context on Latinos' role in society and how we're perceived, and after learning more about specifically like Chicano culture, like now I'm like, oh, I'm making being Latina my whole identity. Like Trump is trying to fuck us over and like
Right.
make us seem like we're like these criminals, monsters. Hell no. Like Latinos have played such a big role in American history. And like we've like I'm sorry, whenever I think about it, I just get really angry. Like
Mm.
right now I'm at a point where I'm like, I have to make it a point to communicate the fact that I'm Latina, because I am somebody that cares about representation, but not representation in the way where it's like, yeah, I'm Latina. It's like, okay, I am Latina, but I'm also a productive member of society. I go to school. I am trying to educate myself. I am a first generation student. I am trying to contribute positive to society. I was born in the US, even though neither of my parents were citizens. So I am a citizen and I am doing what I can to do good. I'm not trying to hurt the country. I'm not trying to take things away from Americans. Like, I'm trying to do what I can to make my country, which includes Latino people, which includes so many different kinds of people from different places and different backgrounds. I'm trying to make my home a better place by reminding others that it is not my identity that makes me bad. It is your character. Your character is how you should judge people. And you can be white and be a shitty person. You can be Latino and be a shitty person. You can be black and be a shitty person. It's not about the identity. It is about your characters and your ideologies and how you treat other people. So now my goal as a Latina is to remind people that we should not be judging each other because of things that we don't have control over, like where we come from. I didn't ask to be born Latina, nada más tuve suerte.
That was perfect. Oh my God. I don't think you realize how powerful you are. Or maybe you
Oh,
do, because you've been saying you're the greatest of all time. So, or maybe you do. Um, what's something you would want to work on that you haven't already?
ooh, a book.
You know, on God, I swear, as you were speaking, I'm like, she needs to write a book because she drops so many bars that she needs to write a book. Yes. Like, what would this book? Is it like what kind of book? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, there's a few topics that I would want to talk about. I would definitely like to write a book for different experiences. Like, for example, what it's like to be a Latina, or what it was like to be a Latina in the 2020s. And then
Yes.
I really want to create a guidebook for artists, young artists in the music industry, and be like, these are all the things nobody else will tell you about the music industry. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I would also like
okay.
love to do some sort of like research piece on some sort of thesis.
Love this. What's one thing you need in the morning?
Ooh, my meds.
Okay. What is this chapter of your life called?
My grown-up era.
Yes. And finish this sentence. Growing up Latina is.
Growing up Latina is traumatizing but beautiful.
And if you could leave one last message to the audience and your fans, what would you tell them?
Latino people, please do not let yourself be belittled. We have right to take space. We have the right to be here. This is our home. And we need to do what we can to stand up for ourselves and prove that we are worthy people that contribute good to the world and to our country. We're not just randos that just pull up and do nothing. Like, we're people, we have feelings, we have families, and we matter.
Ooh,
Period.
period. Ambar Lucid, what do you have coming up that we can look forward to?
I have a new project coming out. I have a single coming out.
Thank you so much for coming on Growing Up Latina. We absolutely love you and support you, and we can't wait to see everything that you have coming up. We're going to stay locked in. So thank you so much.